Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into something that affects every one of us, the GREATDACEPTUEEON of modern society. From the screens in our hands to the products on our shelves, there's a hidden narrative pulling the strings behind the scenes. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover how information overload, social media, mirages, consumerist conditioning, echo chambers, and the illusion of control keep us locked into a system designed to benefit a few at the expense of many. Stick around, because once you see the threads of deception, you'll never look at the world the same way again. Every day, we're bombarded with news alerts, trending topics, and breaking headlines. At first glance, this feels empowering. Knowledge is power, right? But here's the catch. When you consume too much information, your brain hits a saturation point. Critical thinking plummets, and you start reacting to the loudest voices rather than weighing facts. Media outlets and algorithms know this, which is why sensationalism and clickbait dominate our feeds. By keeping us distracted and emotionally stirred, they ensure we never pause long enough to ask the big questions. In reality, this endless deluge keeps you chasing the next headline instead of focusing on what truly matters. We've all scrolled through Instagram or TikTok and felt a pang of envy: the perfect bodies, exotic vacations, flawless lifestyles. But remember, you're seeing a curated highlight reel, not real life. Influencers and advertisers team up to craft an aspirational fantasy that keeps you chasing ideals you can never truly reach. Behind every spontaneous post is a strategy: optimized hashtags, mood filters, and even staged props. The more you compare yourself to these manufactured realities, the more time and money you'll pour into gadgets, beauty products, or experiences thinking they'll bring you happiness. Spoiler alert, they rarely do. Modern capitalism thrives on desire, creating needs where none existed. Ads tell you that you're incomplete without the latest smartphone, that your worth is measured by your wardrobe, and that success equals material accumulation. But have you ever stopped to calculate the true cost of this endless cycle? It's not just your bank account that pays, it's your time, your attention, and even your relationships. Every purchase feeds the conveyor belt of production, shipping, and disposal, leaving environmental and social wreckage in its wake. By buying into the promise that more equals better, we become complicit in a system that exploits both people and planet. Thanks to personalized algorithms, we now live in digital bubbles, areas of the internet where everyone thinks like you do. While this might feel comfortable, it's also dangerous. When your feed only shows viewpoints that mirror your own, you lose perspective and empathy for others. Misinformation thrives in these silos as unchallenged beliefs get amplified. Before you know it, you're convinced your side holds the absolute truth, and anyone else is misled or malicious. Breaking out of this silo takes effort. You need to actively seek opposing views, engage in respectful dialogue, and question your own assumptions. Only then can you escape the echo chamber's grasp. Finally, modern society sells us the dream of complete control through productivity apps, wellness trackers, and life hacks. The promise is seductive. Optimize every minute of your day, quantify your habits, and upgrade yourself like software. But here's the paradox. The more you chase control, the more anxiety you generate. You start believing that if you just had the right tool or routine, you'd be happy, productive, and fulfilled. In truth, life is inherently unpredictable. Embracing uncertainty, allowing for rest, and accepting imperfection are the real keys to well-being. Letting go of the need to control every outcome can be liberating. We're taught that formal education is the gateway to success, but the system often prioritizes conformity over creativity, memorization over understanding. Schools prepare students for standardized tests, not real-world problem solving. Critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and entrepreneurship are often sidelined. Why? Because a society built on obedience is easier to manage. Many graduates leave with massive debt and few practical skills, funneling them into jobs that maintain the system rather than challenge it. True education should be about empowering minds, not conditioning workers. The traditional 9-to-5 job is portrayed as stability, a safe career path. But in reality, it's often a golden cage. Many people trade their dreams for security, working decades in roles that drain their passion and creativity. This model benefits corporations, not individuals. You work to build someone else's empire while your own aspirations gather dust. Worse, this routine is designed to keep you too tired to think critically or rebel. Breaking free requires courage, but also a recognition that time, not money, is your most valuable asset. Work hard now, enjoy life later. That's the retirement promise. But how many actually make it to a healthy, stress-free retirement? Many people sacrifice their youth for a future that might never come. Health deteriorates, inflation erodes savings, and some never get to enjoy the freedom they spent a lifetime earning. Society convinces you to delay joy, but what if that's the greatest deception? Life is now. Planning for the future is wise, but postponing life entirely for it is a gamble with no guarantee. Healthcare should be about healing, right? Unfortunately, in many parts of the world, especially in the West, it's a profit-driven machine. Pharmaceutical companies, insurance providers, and even hospitals operate as businesses. More patients mean more profit. This leads to overprescriptions, unnecessary procedures, and a focus on treatment instead of prevention. Instead of addressing root causes like poor diets, stress, and pollution, the system pushes pills. It's not about your wellness, it's about your wallet. The more you stay sick, the more the system thrives. We're told we live in democracies, governments of the people, by the people. But take a closer look. Lobbyists, corporations, and special interests often have more influence than citizens. Politicians are frequently more loyal to donors than voters. Media spins narratives to shape public opinion, and elections become popularity contests rather than discussions of real issues. The illusion of choice keeps people passive, believing they have control while the same power structures remain intact behind the scenes. The modern wellness industry claims to help us live healthier lives, but much of it preys on insecurity. From detox teas to overpriced supplements and boutique yoga studios, it packages health as a luxury. Real wellness, adequate sleep, balanced food, nature, connection is often free or low cost. But the industry doesn't profit from simplicity, so it creates problems just to sell solutions. The irony? Obsessive pursuit of wellness can lead to stress, anxiety, and burnout, the very things we were trying to escape. Every generation is sold a new beauty ideal, and the standards keep shifting: thin, curvy, tanned, pale, and now digitally altered. But there's a consistent theme: making you feel not enough. That insecurity drives a multi-billion-dollar industry. Makeup, procedures, filters, and fashion are sold as fixes. Social media deepens the deception by rewarding appearances over authenticity. True beauty is diverse, imperfect, and natural, but society profits more when you hate what you see in the mirror. In today's culture, being busy is seen as a status symbol. If you're always working, always hustling, then you must be important, right? But this obsession with productivity often masks a deeper emptiness. Constant busyness keeps you from facing your inner thoughts. It becomes a distraction from asking who you really are and what truly matters. True value isn't in how packed your schedule is, it's in how present and fulfilled you are. We're told that technology will solve all our problems, from climate change to loneliness. While tech has improved lives in many ways, it's not a cure-all. In fact, it often creates new problems: isolation, addiction, privacy erosion, and overdependence. Big tech profits from keeping you engaged, tracking your behavior, and shaping your choices. Instead of asking how tech can serve humanity, we're adapting ourselves to serve the algorithms. That's not evolution, it's manipulation. You're told your data is safe, But in reality, your every click, swipe, and scroll is harvested. Social media platforms, shopping apps, even smart devices are constantly collecting and selling your information. Free services come at the cost of your privacy. Worse, data is used to predict and influence your behavior from what you buy to how you vote. Surveillance isn't just about cameras on street corners anymore. It's in your pocket 24/7. Modern culture glorifies independence. Be your own boss. You don't need anyone. While autonomy is powerful, complete independence is an illusion. Humans are inherently social. We thrive in community, in support networks, in shared wisdom. The hyper-individualism pushed by society often leads to isolation and disconnection. Ironically, the more independent we try to be, the lonelier we become. True strength lies not in doing everything alone, but in knowing when to ask for help. Sustainability is trending, and companies know it. So they slap eco-friendly, natural, or carbon-neutral labels on products to win your trust. But many of these claims are misleading or outright false, a practice called greenwashing. It makes consumers feel good while maintaining the same destructive systems. Real sustainability isn't about packaging, it's about systemic change. But that's hard to sell, so companies sell the illusion instead. From celebrities to CEOs, society creates icons we're meant to idolize. But placing people on pedestals often blinds us to their flaws and shields them from accountability. Hero worship turns individuals into brands, distracting us from collective power. While we're busy admiring success stories, we ignore the systems that elevate a few while suppressing the many. True progress comes not from idolizing a few, but from empowering the masses. Fear of missing out, FOMO, is more than a hashtag. It's a tool used by marketers and platforms to keep you endlessly scrolling and spending. Flash sales, limited drops, viral trends, they all tap into your fear of being left out. This emotional trigger keeps you hooked and distracted. But real fulfillment doesn't come from staying on top of every trend, it comes from tuning into your own pace, passions, and priorities. The internet feels free, but nothing is truly free. If you're not paying with money, you're paying with attention and data. Your behavior becomes the product sold to advertisers. The platforms you use daily are engineered to keep you online as long as possible. The cost? Your time, your focus, your mental health. Awareness is key. Use the internet, don't let it use you. From childhood, we're told, you can be anything you want to be. While this is meant to inspire, it can create unrealistic expectations. Not everyone has equal access to resources, networks, or opportunities. When people inevitably hit systemic barriers, they blame themselves instead of questioning the structure. This narrative ignores privilege and reinforces the myth of meritocracy. True empowerment comes not just from dreaming big, but from building equitable systems where everyone actually has a fair shot. We assume news outlets are neutral truth tellers, but most are owned by corporations or influenced by political interests. They frame stories to fit agendas, omit inconvenient facts, and stir emotions to drive ratings. Headlines are crafted to evoke outrage or fear, not understanding. The result? Divided societies and misinformed audiences. Critical media literacy is essential today. Don't just consume the news, analyze who's behind it and why they want you to think a certain way. Modern culture idolizes hustle. Every moment must be maximized. You're told to wake up earlier, grind harder, never rest. But this glorification of constant productivity leads to burnout, anxiety, and a loss of joy. You start viewing yourself as a machine, not a human being. Rest becomes guilt, and stillness feels like failure. But life is not a to-do list. Your value isn't measured in output. True productivity honors your health, your time, and your peace of mind. Just follow your passion. Sounds like empowering advice, but it's incomplete. Turning your passion into a career can strip it of joy, especially when money and deadlines enter the picture. Not all passions are profitable, and not all work can be passion-fueled. Society uses this phrase to gloss over systemic job dissatisfaction. It shifts the burden onto individuals, suggesting that if you're unhappy, it's because you chose wrong, not because of broken work cultures. Passion is powerful, but it's not the only ingredient for a meaningful life. Social media profiles, cloud storage, and AI legacies give the illusion of digital immortality. We curate online personas we hope will last forever. But this detachment from real-life presence can disconnect us from the here and now. We become obsessed with how we appear to others rather than how we feel inside. In chasing likes, legacy, and digital permanence, we forget the simple, fleeting magic of being truly alive right now, in this moment. Charitable giving is often seen as a noble act, but in many cases, large-scale philanthropy is a PR move for the ultra-wealthy. Corporations and billionaires create foundations that offer tax breaks, not just goodwill. These acts of giving are carefully calculated to protect power, influence policy, and divert attention from the harm their businesses may be causing. Meanwhile, systemic issues remain unresolved. True charity uplifts without strings attached. Deceptive charity maintains the status quo while appearing generous. We're sold the idea that achieving work-life balance is possible if we just manage our time better. But the real problem isn't poor time management, it's system design. Most jobs were never structured for balance. Overloaded schedules, constant connectivity, and unrealistic expectations make true balance a myth for many. Yet, when workers struggle, they're blamed for not trying hard enough to balance. The truth? It's not about balance, it's about boundaries, values, and resisting a culture that glorifies overwork. Minimalism started as a response to overconsumption, but now it's been packaged and sold. Instead of questioning why we consume, society encourages us to buy more minimalist products, designer planners, neutral-toned furniture, simple luxury items. The irony? It turns a rejection of consumerism into a new aesthetic trend, still driven by profit. Real minimalism isn't about style, it's about mindset. It's not about owning fewer things that look better, but about freeing yourself from needing things to define your worth. Motivational culture often pushes the idea that success comes down to waking up early, working harder, and staying disciplined. While effort is important, this formula ignores structural inequality, mental health, and life's unpredictability. Not everyone starts from the same place. These one-size-fits-all success tips make people feel like failures if they don't achieve results fast enough. In truth, success is deeply personal. Your pace, your values, and your well-being matter more than fitting someone else's mold. Modern society tells us that happiness can be bought a vacation, a car, a new phone, a status symbol. This belief drives endless consumption, yet the joy is always short-lived. Why? Because happiness sold in ads is external, fleeting, and often unattainable. True contentment comes from connection, purpose, and self-acceptance, not purchases. But content people don't make good consumers, so industries thrive on your dissatisfaction. The biggest rebellion in a deceptive society? Learning to be happy with less. Social media has normalized the idea that what you see online is reality. Perfect vacations, glowing skin, success stories, everything looks polished. But this filtered world distorts our expectations. We begin to compare our behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. This illusion breeds insecurity and envy, convincing people they're falling behind in a race that isn't even real. The deception is powerful because it's invisible, you forget it's curated. Reclaim your self-worth by remembering reality isn't filtered, and that's okay. We're constantly told to trust the experts, and while expertise matters, it's often manipulated. Media and institutions sometimes elevate voices that align with dominant agendas, while silencing dissenting but credible opinions. This creates a false sense of consensus. People who question the mainstream are labeled as conspiracists without consideration. True progress comes from challenging prevailing ideas, not blindly accepting them. The deception? Mistaking authority for truth instead of truth for authority. We're taught that economic growth must be constant, that more is always better. But infinite growth on a finite planet is not sustainable. Corporations push this narrative because their profits depend on expansion, even if it means environmental destruction and social inequality. GDP rises while quality of life often stagnates or declines. The system ignores well-being, balance, and nature's limits in favor of perpetual consumption. The deception? That growth equals progress when sometimes slowing down is what we truly need. Normal is one of the most dangerous words in society. We're told to be normal, act normal, live normal lives. But who defines what's normal? Often, it's a narrow set of behaviors that benefit dominant power structures. Deviating from it gets you labeled as strange, rebellious, or wrong. This stifles creativity, individuality, and authentic living. The greatest minds in history broke away from the normal path. The deception? That being normal is the goal, when in truth, it's often the barrier. From the moment we're born, society assigns us identities, name, gender, nationality, status. We grow up thinking we are these labels. But these are social constructs, not the essence of who we are. This rigid identity framework divides people, fuels ego, and creates us V's. Them mindsets. You're taught to protect and promote these labels, even when they limit your potential. True self-awareness begins when you ask, who am I beyond what I've been told to be?